All right, when you first start up the machine, you're going to hit the Pro Rip button and the software is going to open. It's going to take a second. So while you're doing that, you're going to head over to the machine. And in the back left is the power button. You're going to turn that on. And then on the front, there's an orange button that kind of looks like a smiley face with a one single nose, I suppose. You're going to push that and hold it in for maybe a couple of seconds, and it'll turn blue, and then the display will come on. Okay? And so then the display will start showing you the temperature that the ink is at, and if all of that looks okay, you're good to go. So if you see the screen display and if you see the power is on and it's not blinking, if it's blinking blue, just turn it back off and turn it back on again. You should be okay. But if it's solid blue, you're good to go. The temperature, nothing is blinking, you're good to go. Then what you're going to do, you're going to come back over to the software, and the software will boot up to a blank screen. Okay, and I'm going to zoom in a little bit here onto the software. So in the software, it'll have kind of a checkered pattern. Up in the top right, you'll see a little double arrow. And what you're going to need to be able to see is this little menu icon in the top right, and there'll be a little printer icon. You're going to move over that, and you're going to click that, and that's going to bring up the printer preferences. Okay, and it's a little hard to see on the camera. Okay, so we'll take some screenshots of this. But under the printer preferences, you'll see the word maintenance, and you'll see where it says head cleaning. Okay. You are going to click the head cleaning button, and it's going to take it a second. Everything is a little slow, so you just have to be a little patient on it. Okay, and it's going to say start. Okay, so just click start. You have start or cancel, so two options. And you have to do this every time you're going to start using the machine. Okay, because you don't quite know how often the machine has been used prior. You kind of need to use the machine once every couple of days at least. And so what the head cleaning is going to do is it's going to make sure that if there's any dried ink in here, it's going to clean it out and allow us to print. So now you're going to see the machine is heating up. Notice the temperature is now at 35 degrees. Okay, and if you lift up the bed, it will snap into place. There we go. And the head here will start to move. So let's see if I can get it in there. There we go. So this is the print head. So you can see the print head is starting to move. So we just have to wait for it to finish its job. There you can see it moving around. Let me see if I can zoom out a bit. There we go. Okay. So kind of what it's doing is it's going to try to clean out the cartridges inside of there. Okay. So let's zoom in a little bit more here. Okay. Now, I'm going to show you something else here that we're going to want to make sure that we do if we see something that's looking a little bit out of whack. So it's now stopped moving, and on our screen now, it now says, "Are you done?" And you'll click Finish. Okay? Now, one of the things that is looking a little funny here, and hopefully it shows up on our camera, is if you can see it, if you can see there's the colors, but notice the yellow one. There is this air gap right here, okay? And there's actually a fair bit of air in the yellow, and it looks like there's even an air gap in the black, okay? And so you don't want any air gaps there, okay, because that's going to impact the printing, because it's going to feed the ink through these little tubes. And when it hits this air gap, what's going to happen is you're going to get a messing up of the ink when it feeds into the little cartridge. So if you see these air gaps, there's a couple of things that we can try to do. Okay. In the back, there is a little feed button. So if you press that and you hold it, okay, sometimes you have to hold it for like 10 seconds, so it takes a little bit of time. Let me hold it a little longer. So we're holding it. There it goes, and you'll hear it click on, so now you see the little ink button blinking. And so now you can see the ink is flowing, and all of those air gaps have closed. Okay, and that's going to fill up my ink cartridges. And so now notice my ink tubes are now nicely filled. So I don't have any gaps, okay, which is nice. Okay, so you have to hold the little blinking ink for about 10 good seconds. And when that finishes blinking, that means that it has fed the ink into all of my cartridges. So we're going to let it do its thing. Put my camera back here. All right. So now stop blinking, and our carriage has moved back home. Okay. Now, once all that's done, you kind of have to double check each of those things each time you start up the printer. Okay. Now we can go back and actually start printing. Okay. And so then the little double arrow again in the top right takes you back and forth between the two windows that we're going to use. Okay. And at the top left, when you're in the checkerboard pattern, there is a little icon that looks like a cloud. That's where you're going to add your image. And so you'll create an image and you'll add it. Again, the images have to be really high quality, at least 300 dpi, so that's dots per inch. So high quality pictures. And then you'll find the image that you want to add. So let's say I wanted to add a PDF. It'll do PDFs, TIFFs, JPEGs, and PNGs. One of the keys that you have to have is that the image has to be transparent in the background. So there's my image. Okay. And so you have to resize it so that it fits on the checkered pattern. Okay. And then you can move it wherever you like. I like putting it at the top because that means it's going to fit on the paper. Okay. So there I've got my image where I want it to be. And then a couple of other things. If this is a brand new job, over here on the right, it'll tell you what color mode it's in. It's in CMYK. And that's typically the setting that you want, because when you go in and you look at your printer, you'll see that it's got the C, it's a cyan, magenta, M, then it's got two whites, which we'll talk about here, then it's got K and Y. K is black, Y is yellow. Okay? And the two whites are important because what it's wanting to do is it's going to lay down a layer of white on top of the colors, which is going to make it easier to get the pictures off. And you want to make sure that you hit these two little pluses right there to get them off, to make sure that you have the two whites. And when you click those two little white tabs, you'll see that you'll get two white objects. Okay, so you're going to want to make sure that you have all three of these tabs. Okay. All right. Then, once you've done all of that, your image looks okay. You can manipulate your colors of your image. Underneath it there's a gamma, and you can change all of it by manipulating the image by moving this little slider here. Notice I can make it darker and lighter as I see fit. You can also manipulate the individual colors. So a good practice is to test print a small one. So make your image pretty small. Test it first, see if you like the colors. If you don't like the colors, then you adjust this and then test another test print, see if you like the colors. Because you can't match the colors on the screen with the printer. Your screen has millions of colors, your printer has 4. And so it's doing its best to mix to get close to what's on the screen, but you'll never match the screen colors. So always start with the small one, test print it, then make it bigger for your actual print. Okay? And that is how we get started on using the DTF printer.